What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In this one, we are going to be talking a little bit more about fitness and nutrition. And the topic of today is why your mind is making you fat. I know. When I say this, some of you guys might think, well, how is that possible? How could my mind do that? Well, a main point that I have been trying to drive home in a lot of these videos, if you guys have been paying attention, is the true power of the mind. Just how powerful the mind truly is, and how much more you can ultimately accomplish when you realize that power and learn to access it. Okay? I like to say something that has a lot of relevance to this topic, and that is the body flows where the mind goes. So the mind is the leader, and ultimately your physical shape, your health, is a reflection of what is going on inside of your mind. All right? The decisions that you are choosing to make, the beliefs that you have accepted. Often when there is not a congruence between the body and the mind, you find people in states of peril. This makes life a constant battle of trying to check your mind and find out what your limiting beliefs are. What is holding you back, all right? What are you telling yourself every single day that is shooting yourself in the foot, keeping you from accomplishing exactly what you're trying to accomplish? Well, when it comes to getting in shape, I constantly run into the limiting beliefs of the average person, all right? And the average person is not in shape. The state of the average person's health in America is an absolute travesty. And as a coach, I get to see all of these beliefs played out in all of my clients, and the people that come to me, and the people that apply to work with me one-on-one. I see the excuses that these people make, and I see the aspects that make some people very successful as well. I get to watch people transform. It's literally my job to help them go from people that are super out of shape, super overweight, to becoming literally a different person. A person who is confident. A person who is keeping the promises that they make to themselves. A person who is ultimately checking their limiting beliefs every single day. Now we're going to get into a couple of the common limiting beliefs that I see played out. The limiting beliefs that are taking place in the mind that ultimately are making people fat and keeping people fat. Number one, the most common one I run into, and I know when I say this, a lot of you guys are going to be like, Brandon, I'm turning off this video. This is ridiculous. I can't believe you're calling me out like this. My hormones make it so that I can't lose weight. One of the most common excuses. I hear it every single day. Super common. Not just from women, even though that's most commonly who it comes from, but from men as well. They will say stuff like this. I find it hilarious. Hypothyroid. My thyroid isn't working, all right? Other diseases that impact people's metabolism. They say, I have this, therefore I cannot get into shape. I am stuck being fat. Number two, I was born fat. Another very common excuse. People will say, my family is just big boned. They're husky. And although genetics do play a little bit of a role in your physique, in your looks, that is ultimately not what's keeping you fat. Number three, the government is trying to keep us fat. This is a very, very common one with the rise and the demonization of processed foods and seed oils. People are terrified of seed oils. I also find this absolutely hilarious. People will avoid processed foods to no end. They think that the government is trying to poison them. Number four, I don't have time. One of the most common excuses I get from people that are especially parents. They say, we don't all have the same 24 hours in a day. They say, you tell me that we have the same amount of hours in the day, but that's not true. I have to take care of my kids. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have more responsibilities. I don't have as much time as you, so it's harder for me to get into shape. Now, what you need to understand, and I'm going to go through and debunk all of these limiting beliefs before you and show you that ultimately this is what your mind is telling itself, and that is what is keeping you fat. You have to take the first step in overcoming the limiting beliefs inside of your mind and then start moving towards what you actually need to do and taking action. Because if someone doesn't think that they are actually capable of achieving something, if somebody doesn't actually think that they're capable of change, they will never take action. They need to believe that it is first possible, okay? So what you need to understand, number one, people who blame their lack of physical excellence or their obesity on metabolism, they say, my hormones make it so I can't lose weight, I have hypothyroid. These are the same people that eat too much on the weekends. They might restrict all week long, they keep their calories low where I tell them to, but they eat too much on the weekends. And when I actually tell them to track their calories regularly, every single weekend, boom, they go into a surplus. And if you know anything else about fat loss, you'll know that 2 days in a surplus can completely cancel out 5 full days of being in a small deficit. So these people that like to blame their metabolisms, when you actually sit down, bring them the facts and say, hey, this is how much you're eating throughout the week, it shows that you're making exactly as much progress as you should be. And that amount of progress is 0. You are not going anywhere. Because you are eating too much on the weekends, you are snacking too much at night, you are doing specific things that are ultimately resulting in canceling out your deficit. You're not losing weight, you are staying fat. So you see, there's so many people that are convinced that they are outliers. Sorry to break it to you, but the majority of people have very, very similar metabolisms. Everybody has a metabolism based off of how much they weigh and how active they are. At the end of the day, there will be outliers, people that reside on the far sides of the spectrum, but you are probably not an outlier. The chances are you are just somebody that eats too much. You pick up the fork too much. You go out with your friends and you eat foods that you have no idea what kind of oils they're cooked in. They definitely have a whole bunch of extra calories in there. You don't know how much butter they use to make those eggs. You are the person that is not staying consistent with actually tracking how much you are eating. That is your problem. The problem is not your metabolism. The problem is not your body. Your body is not broken. You are simply not holding yourself accountable. Even hard gainers, people that struggle to put on weight, I'm going to call them out a little bit in this video and say, most hard gainers say, oh dude, I just eat so much weight, I just eat so much food, and I just can't seem to put on weight. It's ridiculous. I have such a fast metabolism, bro. And then you get them to track their calories. I once had a young man come to me and say, Brandon, I can't put on weight. He said, I'm eating 4,500 calories a day. I said, you are not eating 4,500 calories a day. He said, I am eating 4,500 calories a day. I said, awesome, let's track your calories. Guess what? He was eating 4,500 calories a day for 3 days out of the week. The rest of the days of the week, he was barely eating anything. The other 4 days out of the week. So his average total calories at the end of the week came out to about 2,700 calories per day. Not enough to be in a surplus, not enough to gain weight. Fast metabolism, my ass. It doesn't exist. It's ridiculous. Stop telling yourself that you have this super fast metabolism that makes you a genetic outlier. You're not in that position. You are a normal person. Your body is probably functioning exactly how it's supposed to. And you know what's so funny about this whole situation? When people come to me and they say, oh yeah, I have hypothyroid, I can't lose weight. I get to stare them dead in the eyes and say, I also have hypothyroid because it's true. My thyroid legitimately doesn't work. And that has not stopped me from getting shredded every single year for the past 8 years in a row. Every summer I have cut down body fat. Every summer I have gotten down to the point where I have shredded abs. And I have hypothyroid. Did it make it a little bit more difficult? Yeah, probably. It probably made it a little bit more difficult. I still put the work in. I don't really focus on the fact that it's a little bit harder than maybe it is for other people. There's no point in focusing on that. I focus on what I can control, and that is my discipline, and that is my consistency. Number 2, the people that say, I was born fat, my family is just like this, they're big boned, they're husky. You have learned terrible habits from your family. You have not necessarily gotten terrible genetics from your family, all right? Your genetics aren't what's making you fat. If you need to, don't hang out with your family. If your family makes fun of you for working out, if they judge you for trying to eat clean and lose weight, dude, distance yourself from your family. Control your environment. A lot of people say, my genetics are making me fat, or this disease is making me fat. But if you go back a couple hundred years, there were no fat people. I mean, they existed, but they were super rare. It was the kings that had access to a ton of food that could sit around all day and be gluttonous. But now we all have access to calories 24/7. It's plentiful. We're very, very inactive throughout the day. We don't move our bodies, and people just sit around and eat because it's legitimately a drug. So tell me, where were all of the fat peasants that had terrible genetics, that were born fat? Tell me, where were all of the people with hypothyroid that were extremely fat back in the Dark Ages? Where were the peasants? Where were the peasants that didn't have the food, that were dying of obesity? Spoiler alert, they didn't exist. Number 3, the people saying the government is trying to keep us fat. Seed oils and these processed foods, it's a conspiracy. They're trying to get us sick. They have it out for us. The government is not out to get you. We live in a beautiful capitalist society. If you don't like capitalism, you are tripping. This means that everything is marketed to the extreme. So there's positives to that and there are negatives to that. Capitalism is the best way to go about it. That's very, very true. But at the same time, there are negatives to it and things are going to be marketed to an extreme. Freedom comes with responsibility. All right? In our society, in a capitalist society, there is more pressure on the individual, on the consumer, to control how he eats, how he lives, what he does. But we want that element of control in our own lives because that means that we get more freedom. That is the sacrifice that we make. The government isn't trying to make you fat. Companies are trying to make money, and so they're making very, very good food that your fat ass cannot stop eating. That is the situation that we are in. But that freedom is amazing. You want that freedom. That's the beauty of America. So if you don't want to have that freedom, I challenge you to go somewhere else. Go somewhere else where you don't have that freedom, where you don't have access to all of these foods. Something super simple that you could do, and I think it's hilarious that people say this, oh yeah, the government's trying to kill us, and then they don't want to move anywhere where they have less freedom because they understand that they like the freedom because it's the same freedom that allows them to sit in their couch and eat potato chips all day and get super fat and unhealthy. They choose to shop at the same exact places every single week. When they could easily go to a store like Whole Foods or go to a market that just simply doesn't sell hyper-palatable, hyper-processed foods, and yet they choose to go to Walmart. And they choose to go to McDonald's. And they choose to give business to all of the companies that they complain about, all the companies that they think have it out for them, that are conspiring to keep them fat. Just go shop somewhere else. Exercise your free will, hombre. Number 4, the people that say, I don't have time. We all don't have the same 24 hours in the day. A lot of parents say this because they're like, I have kids. The truth is, we do all have the same 24 hours in the day. Even if you have more responsibility, there will always be someone with a worse metabolism than you, with worse genetics than you, that is more busy than you, that is making it work. There's somebody out there. They're putting in the work. Maybe that person doesn't have legs, so it's difficult for them to walk around, but they're still in better shape than you. So understand that this is not an excuse. And the people that I work with, a lot of dads, busy dads, working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, they still make it work. Even single dads that I've worked with who have their kids 24/7 make it fucking work. I got people in the military. I got people running their own businesses. I've got people traveling all around the world 24/7 making it work, losing the weight, because they addressed the limiting beliefs and they understand what is within the scope of their control, and that is their own fitness. That is what they put inside of their mouth every single day, all right? So your mind is the limiting factor. Don't let it hold you back. Don't let it keep you fat. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to drop a like down below. Put a singular thumbs up emoji in the comment section if you guys watched this video all the way through to the end, because that means you have an awesome attention span. If you guys are interested in hiring me for one-on-one coaching and joining my program, getting in shape, getting abs, getting shredded, feeling like the best version of yourself and watching your confidence shoot sky high, make sure to check out the links in the description down below, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Peace.